Okay, so today we have learned about uh, sales cloud. So we have learned about the functionality right now. So let's understand some more thing on that, like what is account, when account. Okay, at the start level, we at the front end we see some fields, objects, but how they are really, what are they, how they, how we can create a new object, fields, type of fields, and all those basic stuffs we are going to see today. So for example, if I say account, okay, so this is also an object only. When I say contact,
Hey, Dinesh, sorry, I think your microphone has gone away from, I think.
so when we talk about contact, so this is also an object. So likewise we have seen like opportunities, then a quote, lead, they all are objects. So Salesforce, we in the Salesforce we have two types of object. One is called standard and the second one is called custom object. So what is the standard object? Standard object is which Salesforce provides, right? So like account. So account is a standard object. It is not a custom object, it is a standard object. When we talk about contact, it's a standard object. So likewise we have standard object and custom object. So when we talk about standard object, this is basically will be provided by the Salesforce. When we talk about the custom object, then this is something we create, right? So we will discuss on this. Let's go practically to understand this, and then we can customize this both objects. So if I want to add a new field. So when we will see, when we saw custom, this sorry, account object, we saw few already created fields. So suppose in account object, if I want to create a new fields based on my business requirement, so this has been provided by the Salesforce. But what if I want to create some new field, if I want to capture some new thing? So I can do all that using we can create a new fields and we can assign to particular profiles and all. Okay, so let's go to this setup, and this is lightning UI. So in the lightning UI you can simply go, and if you click on setup, it will land you to this page, setup page, and where you can see home and object manager. So home is nothing but you can search all the functional like workflow and everything. Object manager is where you can find all the objects, right? The name itself suggests like object manager. So you can find all the standard object, you can find all the custom object here. So like as I said in here, like standard object, so we have account and contact. So here we have account, and if you can see all these fields, these all standard fields provided by the Salesforce here, right? So let's understand this account object. So since now we are aware of this object, so here if you see, you can see a lot of tabs here, right? Like details, fields and relationship, page layouts, lightning record pages, button links and actions, compact layout, field sets. So we will discuss all this slowly, but let's understand the overview of all this. So once you click this object, so on the detail you will see descriptions. So on the description you will say API name. So what is API name? API name is basically a unique name, right? So for example, for every object, whatever the object, either it is standard or it is custom object, there will be two things. One is like label, okay, and another one will be API name. So why do we require two things here? Why do we require label and why do we require API name, right? So label is something we can define anything which user sees on the UI. Suppose, for example, here we have, let me look out for the account. Here I will select the sales cloud. So just simply search the sales application, right? So here you can see names, the tab here names like leads, task, accounts, contacts. Okay, so all these actually called a label which user sees, that is called label. API name is basically used by us, the programmers, developers, project managers, anyone who is technically or admin, they will be using this API name to refer anywhere, because this has to be unique. You cannot update it again and again, because suppose for example, uh, you have API name called account. Okay, and if and you have several other things here, like for example, use case 1, same way, like use case 2, you can have use case 3. Okay, so for example, you are referring this account to multiple, like it could be up to n, right? It can be up to n. So if you are referring this account to this multiple times, so for example, if you are referring this label accounts, so you may have to change all the places, here then here then here, and it will be very complicated for any developer or for any admin to to modify all these. So for example, you if you have hundred of classes where you have referred this object called account, so suppose in the future if you are going to change this to accounts, then you have to go and update all this stuff, all these use cases wherever you have referred this. So for that reason we have API name. So API name, for example, if you have at first this is account, and the API name for this is account, simple, I have given. In future if you want to change this accounts, right, then you don't have to change all this, wherever you have referred you don't have to update all this, because you will be referring the API name. So that is the biggest advantage of API name. So this label will be against this API name, and this API name I will be referring in all the cases, either with this class, batch classes, or anything that I want to use. I will be just simply calling this API name, and that's it. I So any name I can change. For example, tomorrow if I want to give this a company rather than account, I can give this company. So I don't have to worry about changing here, because my API name is still the same. It will be the account, so I don't have to change. So we have to remember this always, the benefit of API name. And when it is very much required and very much mandatory, we should not be changing the API name ever. So once we created any object or we have created any fields, it is not a good practice to change the API name. We can change the label. So for example, if client today he may give a different name, tomorrow he can give a different name, we can change this label, but we should not be changing the API name. So this is the same thing here. We can see the API name. So whatever the object or fields you create, either it is standard or it is a custom you are creating, there will be API name for everything. Okay, and then singular name, then plural names. So this name is basically whatever the names you are going to provide here, it will display here. Like here you can see accounts. So your API name is account, singular label is account, but plural label is accounts. So whatever name you are going to provide here, that will display here, right? uh, and then we have enable reports. If I want to fetch the reports, track, we will discuss about this track activities and track field history after discussing about the fields and all that. Then we have called field and relationship. So field and relationship, you can see all your fields which has been already created, you can see over here, and you can create your own new field from here. Okay, so field dependency is a different separate concept. We will discuss that on the later on, how one field is dependent on the other one. And then set history tracking. So we can track the history of any fields. For example, I have account site, right? So my account site is for example right now it's like www.abc.com, but in the future, tomorrow I'm going to change like www.xyz.com, and day after tomorrow, for example, if my site is changing to def something, whatever it will change, that whole history if you want to save, like it started from ABC to XYZ, then something. So whatever the value is being updated, if you want to track that, we can set the set set history tracking. We will discuss this while we're doing practical. Right now let's understand this all are the, standard field, and if we want we can create a new one from here. Okay, so now we have a page layout, right? So what is the page layout? So page layout is nothing but if we talk about accounts, we have created all these accounts here. So you can see on the detail page. So on the detail, you can see all the detail field. So we can see we have fields: account owner, rating, phone number, fax, website, account number, type, billing address, shipping address. So these fields, to contain all these field, we should have a basically we should have a page layout. So what is page layout? Maybe we can understand with this. Okay, so it is like container, basically we can say. Suppose this is called a page layout, right? Inside this I can create any n number of fields as per the Salesforce limits. For example, here I can create like account name, then uh, I can create last name, anything, any number of field we can create, and like first name, then here we can give last name. Okay, so this area called page layout, actually this one, this the background in which we are keeping the fields, that is called the page layout. So this is the page layouts, and we have different page layouts. Why we have different page layout is because different profiles can have a different page layouts. So for example, in my company I have a marketing team, I have a sales team, I have a support team, I have, and this is a master kind of layout we can say. So I want to show different fields to different user, to sorry different profiles. So for example, here I have one layout here. I want to show this to the marketing profile, and so for example, I want to show this to marketing profile, this one, and I want to show like four field to this marketing profile, but and I have another called sales profile, right? uh, Sales profile. So for example, for sales profile, I want to only display these three fields. I don't want to display this fourth one to the sales profile. Okay, so this we can do through the page layouts. We can create a different page layouts, and with the help of record types we can do that, and we will discuss that the record type in our upcoming sessions. So just for overview, we should understand why we have so many page layouts here, and even we can create our new page layouts if we have a different teams. So we can show more field. If I want to display like 10 fields to the sales profile, whether, and those 10 fields I don't want to show to the marketing profiles. So on the same object, on the account object itself, we can have a multiple page layouts. Then we have lightning record pages. This we will discuss later on, but
So
again,
Dinesh, one quick question.
okay.
Uh, Quick question on this page layout for different profiles. So
Mm.
at the profile level itself, we can assign the page layout, right? Each and every individual page layout.
Yes,
I mean,
right
we'll
now.
discuss more detail the profiles later, I believe. But just at a, I mean, how many times how many time, a different way we can control the page layout. One is profile. Is there any other way?
Yes, we will actually right now. If I explain you, I'm not sure if you can understand before discussing that basic.
Uh-huh.
See, there are record types as well, right? So based on
Right.
the record types, we can assign this page layout to different profiles. So we will discuss that, how to create record type and how page is being assigned. That we will discuss through
Yeah.
practical. And okay, So uh, okay, so we will discuss in detail. Then there is a lightning record page. This is also okay. So this lightning record page, and we will understand this in more detail. But for the overview, I will tell you. This is the record page, right? So in this we have this is called a compact layout that we will see in the next here, that is called compact layout. So let's understand that as well. So compact layout is like, fields which we want to, we want to see uh, easily, or immediately, we can say. So around 10 fields we can add here. So for example, see, I can have 100 of fields here, then I have to scroll down, and then I need to check over here. So few the fields which are, very much important, I can create a compact layout, and I can place those fields here. So up to 10 fields we can keep here. So for example, if I want to have we have website. So for example, we don't have industry here, okay. No, we have so for example, we don't have employee field here. So we can keep this employee field here also, right? And suppose we don't have SLA or this active. So if I want to show here, I can show up to 10 fields which I want to see immediately or quickly. So that fields we can assign into the compact layout. So that is called a compact layout. And record page, lightning record page is the whole thing. This is actually a separate components. So like detail is a separate component. When I click on the related, it's a separate component. News is a separate component. Activity, chatter, this is all a separate component. This is a separate compact layout which is called. And this is a buttons basically. So this is all a separate component. To contain all this in one frame, we create a lightning record page. So even we can modify all this. Suppose if I don't want to see this news, we can remove this. If I don't want to see the related button here, we can remove this. Or if I want to hide any button, or if I want to add a new button here, we can all modify this. All can be modified. So we will discuss this also the later on the detail, when we will discuss about the lightning record page. Okay. So button, links, and action again. This is the new contact, new case, something, which we create a record, or we do any action. We define it button, links, and action. So for example, if you want to see anything here, right? New, view, edit, delete, clean. So all these fields, you can see here, like new contact, new case, new notes. And you can see all the fields which are here. Okay, so we have understood the compact layout. Okay, now what is the field set? So this is also a very important stuff. Field set. So for example, I have here lot of fields here, and this is actually being mostly used by the developers. So for example, I have some frequent fields that I use every time. For example, type, phone number, website, account site, and this one, industry. So for example, if this six fields I want to, I am accessing every time, and I have to define it every time. So we can store that in a field set, and we can call this field set. So that will call automatically all these six fields. So this is a kind of container only. So once maybe for more explanation, we can check out here, right? So we can create a name, and for example, I can give a account field set. And we can refer all the once I save this, right? Okay, so you can define your own field, like account site, and then you can drag here, and here you can select for available for the field site, and in the field set, so I can like select more fields. So once I call this account field with this name, account field, so all these field will come together. So this is actually being used by the developer, being an admin. I have just given you the brief. Maybe we're not going to more detail on this. This is mostly used by the developers when they, suppose they want to call these three fields in Visual Force page or in the lightning, they can simply call this name, and all these three fields will be called. Okay, let's come to the limitation. So Salesforce has limitations. uh, they will have limit in everything. That is the, you can say that is a drawback, you can say, or you can say like that is, it has also a good side also. So, because it will keep your code clean, your org clean. So Salesforce had the limitations for everything. For example, like active lookup filters. So on the developer org, you can have 5 at a time. Then active validation rules. We will discuss what is validation rule. So how much we can have, and as well as it will show you like how much we have consumed here as well. So for example, custom fields. On the account custom field, I might have created or might have installed any package, so it is showing me 7 custom fields, which is 1% of limit. So we can create up to 500 custom fields. So this is the limitation on my org. Then custom relationship fields, I can create up to 40. Then roll up summary fields, we can create up to 25. Again, we will discuss this, what is roll up summary. So all these things, there is a limitation that we have to keep in mind always. Like in Salesforce, this is one of the best thing also, because suppose for example I have need of some fields today, I have created today, but I might not be needing after 6 months that field. So like that we can have multiple fields, and then a time will come we have to clean our org, because it may slow down your performance of the org. So this is very much understand, and we can check all these object limits here. So again, and then there is a record type, as we were discussing about the record type. you know we can show
Dinesh,
different. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
proceed.
this object limit is standard object limit across any of the object, or this changes based on the object. Let's say account is one object, right? So there is a different limit for that object, and there is different limit for some custom object, or it's the standard one for all object. Let's say lookup will be only, or approval process will be only 500, something like that.
It will be different for different objects.
Different objects.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you want to check, the limit of any object, some object will be having the same custom fields, number of custom fields and everything. But again, when it all depends upon the type of your org. If your org is of like enterprise professional, so based on that,
Mhm.
the limitation will be more on that. Okay. So
Okay.
if you want to check the limitation of your account object, you can come here and you can check here.
And check that here for that particular object. Okay.
Correct. And then
But there
record
is
type.
no any question on that, right? I mean, either interview question or examination question, right?
Yes, you can get questions on this, like, because
Okay.
yeah, for example, like mostly here you will get on the lookup filters. We will
Okay.
discuss that on detail. I have one chart that I will show you. So after completing all this,
Okay.
I will help you how to go for the interview questions, and how, and I will
Sure.
refer you in the org as well, where you can check out all those, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
but for
Great.
now you can just understand like limit, how much we have here. So for
Sure.
example, in future, you can, if you want to refer any limit of your any object, you can simply go here and check here. Okay. And then there is a record type. Record type is basically, you can, as I discussed here, right? You can have a different profile, and for different profile you can have a different layout, right? So for, you can, based on the record types. So for example, you can have a record type called marketing record type. You can create a one sales record type, sales profile record type, or you can create a service record type, like that. For that profile, you can assign this layout to a different profiles. It will be a bit confusing right now, I can understand, because you're just beginning here. But once I will do the practically here, now you will get it, how we are assigning a record type. Based on the record type, we are assigning this layouts to a different profiles, right? So we will discuss this. It will be confusing, but we will go on detail on the record types. This is a very important uh, concept when you go for your work, or when you do sort of things in any org. This is a very important, like assigning page layout based on the record types. to different profiles. So we will have a different one session on this record types, maybe for half an hour, to explain this more. Then we have related lookup filters, like we can create a filters on the lookup. So we will understand the lookup first, and then we will come to lookup filters. So there are like search layouts. This is also, for example, when you click on here, you click on the account here, so you can see a different layout here, fields name, account, sites, phone, and then, so this is a recent review. If we want to add more fields, or we want to remove fields from here, so we can do all this from here. Okay, then we have hierarchy columns, triggers again, this is for the developers, but we will understand what is trigger, as well as how we can how admin can write the same functionality as we write on the trigger. So like when the record trigger is basically when you're creating a record, or you are updating a record. Suppose you are working on account object and you want to update some field on a contact object, or you are creating an account object, and while you are creating an account object, you can create a contact object. Or you can see, like when you are updating an account, you want to update the contact object. So for example, there is a field called phone in account object, right? So for example, in account, if you are updating account phone number, the same number should be updated for the contact phone number as well, right? So this can be done through trigger, but again, trigger is for the developers. So for the admin, we have called workflow, process builders, flows. So all these things can be used by the admin, so we will discuss that. Again, we have then validation rule. This is also a very important concept, validation rules. So suppose, for example, if I want to validate anything, right? For example, I have a phone number here, and I want the phone number to only 10 digits. I don't want to more than 10 digits, so I can set a validation rule here. And anything I can set here. So for example, I have for example, email, right? For example, if I'm asking users to enter email, so I can check with at, like I can set a validation. If whatever the user is entering, if there is no at, then throw some error, like invalid email id. You might have seen in some applications like that. So you must have at, then only it will validate. So for example, on the website, if you don't have www, or if you don't have .com, right? So you can show the error like invalid website. So all those validation we can do with the validation here, with the validation rule. So right now we have understood the overview of this. Now let's go into the practical mode. So I'm starting with the field and relationships. So we will, right now we will discuss about the fields only, and relationships we will discuss the next. So for example, okay, now I'm going to create a new field here. So once I hit the new button here, okay, you will see all the types of the fields. This is also called a data type, right? So auto number is basically will be created, auto generic number it will be created, we can set that. Then formula field. So formula field, we can create a formula field. For example, uh, so for example, I have for example, we can take the calculator example, right? So for example, here I have like number one, then we have number two, okay, and I can ask user to enter this number one and number two. With the help of the formula field, I can get the total of this, right? If I want total, I can simply write a formula here. I can create a formula field from here, okay, and I can just simply give here the API name of number one plus number two, and this will calculate the total of this number one and number two here itself on the page. Okay, so we will do that again practically. A roll-up summary is basically used with the master detail relationship. We will discuss that once we will learn about the relationships. Again, this is this almost the same thing. Uh, this is also relationship. And again, then we have a checkbox. So you might be knowing what is the checkbox. So if I want to create a field, I can simply, can create an, like checkbox. So if you want to create any checkbox like this, you can create a checkbox like this. And then currency, right? If you want to create a currency field, you can create from here. So for example, if you enter anything on the field, right? So if you enter any if you enter anything here, so if your org is set up with that particular value, it will set up like a dollar. For example, you can where you can get, it will automatically add like dollar. If it is set with, so suppose you may enter here like 100, and it will automatically add to the dollar or rupee as per the setting, right? So we can create, then date, it will capture the date and time, it will capture the date and time. Then for email, if you want user to enter email, so you can create an email field. And the best thing about this, it will automatically see that whether you are entering email or not. Then geolocation, like map and all, if you want to save. Then number, percentage, phone, pick list value, you might be knowing, like uh, if we have list of values, we can save here, like uh, for example, fruits name like apple, mango, all this. So we can give n number of list, pick list, and we can select either one of it. Then there is called multi select, you can select apple as well as mango. So and then text area long, uh, it is like you can enter more value basically. Then time and url, if you want to store only the time, you can get this field. If you want to store any url, so this is basically this data type, what kind of value you are going to store over here, right? So I'm going to just create let's see, we can create an example on this. Okay, rather than doing anything on the standard objects, let's create a custom object. So I'm creating, simply you can go to object manager, you can click here on the create and create custom object, you can create here. So we are going to see this example. Basically we are going to create this two number field, and I'm going to create this number. And then you can, maybe you can do your you can create all kind of data type fields here. So this object name I'm giving like we can see for the demo object I can give, for example, right now instead of, so we are discussing about the data type, so we can give a data type uh, data type object explanation, simply just for our understanding. Okay, and I can give, so this is what going to display there. Okay, see, this is the API name which we were talking about. We have entered only the label here, but we can see the object name here. So this is also called object name. And every custom object, right, every custom object will be added with uh, dot c. So maybe if you're going for admin interview, they may ask you this question, right? So for the standard object, you will not see underscore underscore c, but for the custom object, you will see underscore underscore c after the uh, this, after the name of the API, you will see underscore underscore c. Okay, right now you cannot see this, but I will show you once it is get created. You can give the description and everything, and here either you can give text or you can auto number. So auto number basically uh, it will create the number from automatically. So suppose I have given here and it should start with 1. So okay, so this is the form. And if you want this object to be used in reports, activities, track field history, as I discussed, like it will track the field history as we saw earlier. Then if you want to allow chatter group, chatter things again we will discuss later on. And simply you can just save it. And if you click on the allow search, it is basically whenever you want to search from here, it will you can search simply here. And if you want to allow this note and attachment to the list, so here basically, okay, let me add and I'll show you how it is. Okay, and this is like it will create a launch new custom tab wizard auto sync. So once you click, it will show you a kind of a tab here. So let me show you that. Okay, so this is what this page came because we checked there, right? Launch new tab. So I can create a tab style. So the important of the tab is, see this, all this actually a tab: opportunity, codes, leads. Once I click on the leads, once I click on the counts, so this is basically a tab. So I'm going to create a tab for this, the newly created object. Okay, and I'm just going choosing the next, and I want to add, you know we will talk about this later on. Like this is profile visibility, which profile can see actually. So right now I'm just giving default for everyone, every profile can see it, but the later on we will understand which profile can see. Then which application should have this tab, right? So I have this all the standard applications. So we have the sales here. Right now I'm working on the sales one, so I will just uncheck for all and I will select the sales one, right? Save this. Okay, so I'm already on the sales application, sales cloud. Let's see whether we are seeing or not. So here we cannot see this because it's already there are objects. Just click on the more, and here you can see, here you can see this one, newly created object, right? So if you click now new, you cannot see any field right now because these are the standard fields which you will see, but we don't have any object fields, so we are not able to see here. So let's create few fields quickly. Okay. Okay, one more thing you might have noticed, I haven't created any fields, but Salesforce already has created few fields, and this will be created for all the objects. And this is a interview question as well. And when you will go for admin certification, they may ask you this as well, like what are the standard object that being created. So it's like created by, so it will capture the data automatically who has created the record. Then name of this object, this is basically auto number because I have given auto number here. Last modified by id, again who has created, it will capture that id. And owner, who is the owner of this record, right? So these are the standard field which Salesforce create automatically. Okay, let me create one more here. And suppose for our example we have number, right? So I'm going to take the number here, number field. Next, and let me give it like number one. Okay, and length of this I want to keep this up to like 4 digit, you can give as per your choice. And decimal number, if you want to give decimal places, like it should be like 10.2, 10.03, you can give all that. You can the description, the purpose of this. And help text is basically what user will see. So we can like, please enter number one. Okay, so this is basically no, just to let user know. And if you want to make this field require, you can just simply click on this. And if you want to avoid duplicate, then you can click here. External id we will discuss later on. This is basically used when we integrate with the third party. So let's do the next here. And I, for example, right now it is visible for all. Okay, and I want to assign this to this page layout. Right now I have only one page layout on this object. So how can I see that? Let's go here on the setup, right? And then account object, go here. And let me type here my field. It was start with data, right? So here is my field, right? And here if you click on the page layout, you can see right now I have only one page layout, because I have, when I was creating the page object, it creates this page layout, one layout right now. But we can create multiple, and we will discuss that the later on. So I want to create one more field, so I will just save and new. Instead of save, I will create one more field here, number, and I will just like, I will take like number 2 here. The field name is nothing but, again, this is a API name, field API name, and this will come automatically. And it cannot have any space, right? It should have underscore only. It cannot be have space on the API name. Again, I will just paste like number 2, always required, next. Okay, I want to visible for all the profiles, save. Okay, so we have created this two thing. Now I'm going to create an formula field, total. I want that value to be calculated automatically, right? So I will create a formula field here. And what will be the return type of this? So obviously when we are adding to number value, so the third value which will return result, it will be obviously a number only. So I will select the number and I will give it a name called result. And I will just select next. And here I can here I can refer that field, right? uh, the field of this particular object. So I have this two field, enter one, plus, and then I'm giving number 2, right? So if you see here, it has already copied the API name. Instead of taking the name of that object label, it is taking the API name. And that is very much important. Right now, if you can see, there is an underscore, and you can see at the last it has added automatically underscore underscore C, and here is underscore underscore C. So now to check whether our formula is correct or not, we can simply check here. Okay, so no syntax error. So if we could have any error on in our formula field, it could have given the error here. Now click on the next, and I want to visible to all the profiles right now. So let's click on the visible, next, and save, right? So if we check our page layout, once we check, let's check whether these three fields are added into our page layout or not, right? So I can see my fields are added here already in enter number 1, number 2, and the result, right? So let's go here and just refresh this. Okay, now once you click over here, right, on the new, so you can see I have made this field mandatory, so I can see the red icon. This is a mandatory, so this is a red icon, and this is a help text, right? Please enter number 1. We entered right here on the help part. We entered this one. Enter, please enter 1. So you can see here, but we are not able to see the third one uh, right now. Why? Let's enter some value and see. Okay, but okay, now let's save this record. So okay, so new record has been created. Okay, so if, either you can see directly there, or you can simply, so this is a auto generated number, right? We given this format, and it started with 1, because while we creating this object, on that object we created this format, we given this format, and we given like it should start with 1. So once you click on this, you can see the number 1 here, then enter number 2. I have clicked on this, and you can see here, once I hit the save button, it automatically calculated the value of number 1 and then number 2. So this is the use of formula field. And there are multiple scenarios in the business use cases where you can use the formula field, and it is a very important data type. So hope it's clear to you, Prasad.
No problem.
Okay, so I hope no more question, right?